a powerful island with a shadowy past and time dilation. Is this show Lost Part 2?
How far off the coast is an island-born person allowed to go before they are attacked by an evil entity?
And what's the best drug trip you've ever had?
Hey, we're going to answer all those questions, all the theories, and go very deep on this episode of Double PHQ's Widow's Bay Podcast.
What town doesn't have a checkered past?
Welcome to our Widow's Bay Podcast. My name's Bubba, and with me, as always, is someone who wishes he would be described as a drug dealer. It's Catfish!
Bubba, it is a pleasure to be joined by someone who's got a peace zone that also needs a little bit of work in his house. So good.
So good. We are going to be breaking down the 5th episode of Widow's Bay. What to expect on your trip.
AKA what I like to call vibes horror.
Man, on this podcast, we'll say inappropriate things at Reverend Bryce's memorial. We'll get LASIK for our third eye, and then we'll enter the Boogeyman's house to get true sight mushrooms.
Ooh.
Next week, Catfish, it's a two-parter episode, and they're dropping 2 episodes next week. We are at the halfway point of season 1. Episode 5 is the halfway point. Catfish, what is your rating for episode 5?
I am going to give this episode 8.5 out of 10, what I like to call double M's.
Double M's?
Yes, maleficent mushrooms. Now, Bubba, this was, you know what, I went a little low. I have a feeling you're going to get a little low. There weren't a lot of fireworks in this episode. It was kind of laid back, and it was more creepy than scary, and that's why I call it kind of like a vibes horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
And this is reminiscent of, there was a recent horror movie called Undertone, which was more creepy, and it was so-so. But there is a slow-moving but effective Argentine/Spanish movie called Terrified.
Ooh.
This is not Terrifier, Terrified. And the fantastic Argentine movie When Evil Lurks. These 3, especially the last 2, rely on a building sense of something horribly evil and wrong without any jump scares. So this was just a deliciously creepy episode. I loved the way they did the flashes with the lights going down or coming up. I love that the Reverend's third eye was open. It's so interesting when you see him at the desk and he says, "My eye is open," and then later on when we get to our Triple D, delicious drug dealer, he says, this drug opens up your eye. And that's very reminiscent of the movie From Beyond, a great horror movie, a great bad horror movie. This is a nice turnaround for Patricia here. She's been a little bit shy. She hasn't had a lot of confidence, but she's got all the confidence in this episode because she is just over Tom for the entire episode. Even before he takes the drugs, she is over Tom. Bubba?
Yeah.
You know, I think you did Mea Culpa last week. And this is a time for my mea culpa. You were very harsh on Mayor Tom's son, Evan, whereas I was just like, he's just a regular teen, and you shouldn't be so hard on him. And now I realize he's just a regular teen, therefore he's horrible. And now he's approaching, Bubba, in my mind, quadruple L.
Quadruple L?
Little Leia's levels of lousiness. Bubba?
Yeah.
We all know what happens when people who are born on the island leave there, and I hope he leaves real soon.
Oh, that
and
poor
takes his
kid.
buddy with him, who's even worse.
Yeah, later, loser. Oh my gosh, Catfish, 8.5 out of 10.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the lowest you've ever rated. I mean, we've just started doing it, but that's the lowest you've ever rated Widow's Bay.
This is a little bit of a setup episode. Right, sort of putting pieces in motion for the other ones. We had everybody come together, and now they're kind of apart again, and then they come together again at the end of the episode until they break off for something truly horrific that we can't see and can only imagine. So I rated it a little lower, even though I think this is a completely fine episode. And like you, I have trust in the people writing, running, and directing this show. And
100%.
so it's just a little lower because I didn't get all my scares. When I looked at all the things that were scary, I only had a few. I had a lot of things that were funny, and so therefore, for me, this episode was just a little off in the balance. Although again, vibes horror, I'm into it. What about you, Bubba? How did you rate this episode?
Well, I'm so glad you remembered that I talked about kid characters, teen characters in the previous podcast. Sadly, on a lot of these shows, the teens are the worst. Now, was this episode the worst of the first 5? I think it was. I'm giving it 7 double E's out of 10.
Double E's, yeah. Oh, wait, double E's?
Enough, Evan. Meaning I've had enough of Evan the son. He's driving me crazy. He's not really even enjoyable to hate like Lita was on Andor or even Zach 2.0 on The Strain. That said, I have not lost faith in these showrunners at all. Yeah. This show had a run of laughs in the middle at the shaman's house that, my God, I was going and saying, oh my God. I had trouble with the episode before then, but that run all the way up, oh my Lord, is so funny. And so I'm all in. I'm all in, even if this episode didn't exactly, hit the highs as the others. Widow's Bay is great. I mean, is it crazy?
I think really the only thing that's bothering me, and it's still justifiable, is that Tom isn't like having any sort of straight talk with Evan. Yeah. Twice in this episode, and there were good reasons for both times. Well, the second time there was a really good reason. He was drugged out of his mind. But the first time, not a great reason, where he says, we'll talk about this later. And this feels like this is Tom's MO and probably why Evan is so bad. Yes. Because he doesn't talk about things with him. So that's my kind of only frustration that they're toying with that. Evan needs a come to Jesus sit down with Tom.
150%. Hey, once again, these really aren't that bad rated episodes by us. Listeners, we love to say, who cares what we think?
7. That's outrageous.
Who cares what we think, listeners? We want to know what you think. You are the third member of the power team. If Kat is Fish is Wick, and I'm Patricia, that means you're Mayor Tom, listeners. Okay, maybe that's not the best analogy.
Whoa. I can't believe you made yourself Patricia.
I know, the hero of the story. But anyway, we do want your opinions. If you're watching us on YouTube, listening to this on YouTube, go down in the comments. Tell us your thoughts. We want to hear it. If you're listening to this on our audio podcast feed, WPHQ, Double P Podcast, please do us a favor. Go, reach out to us on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook. We want to hear from you at Double PHQ. That's the word double, single letter P for podcast, HQ for headquarters, at Double PHQ. Tell us what you thought, because we, even if we're going to have issues with parts of this episode we didn't like, we're in love with this show, and we want to talk to other people who love this show.
I mean, it is so good. Bubba, I have to say, I'm so proud of us. I hope this has happened to other listeners. A good friend of the show saw our podcast come up on his feed, and he's like, all right, well, obviously to listen to this podcast, I need to watch the show. He watched the show, and he's like, this is the best show on TV right now. So, gosh darn it, Bubba, we're doing the Lord's work here, or Reverend Bryce's work, but we'll find out in a second which one of that is. Okay, all right, Bubba, so listen, let's talk about it. This is a scary and funny show. But what was your best or favorite scare of the episode, Bubba? I've only got 3 things here. The first one that comes up there in order of which they appear. We're having all these flashes with Mayor Tom. Yep. He flashes into the meeting. They're all yelling at him. And then there's a flash, and there's nobody there. And behind him on the chalkboard is written in all caps, when I turn around, everyone closed their eyes. And I'm like, holy cow, that is not good. That is not good. And then, after what happens to poor Mayor Tom's blind and now really off wife, he says, the doc comes out and says, the baby is fine. And Mayor Tom says, well, this is pre-Mayor Tom. Yeah. He says, what about her? She seems off. And the doc's like, well, this may take some time. And we open the door, and she's sitting there with a slanted head, staring creepily. That is chilling.
Oh, man.
And then him looking at whatever is in the dark at the end. Once again, a great thing to do. This is the first and third scares of this episodes are scares where you have a setup and it's left to your imagination what could have gone on, what is going on. And so those are my three, Bubba. Do you want to pick one of those, or as always, go off the board with the better option?
Tom at the very end of this episode, Mayor Tom, in his vision, looking through and seeing his wife in that hospital bed looking like that. Oof. It was foreboding. It really gets us excited to see the next episode. For me, that was, I wasn't necessarily scared. I was thinking, oh no. So that was my favorite and also my oh no scene of the episode. How about you?
Okay, Bubba, it was for me just imagining, just like when our self-admitted innkeeper of the crappiest hotel in the world was like, can I have some food for this next 30 seconds? And you're like, what went on in those 10 seconds? I thought to myself, what is happening when he turns around and people close their eyes? So for me, that is my favorite scare of the episode, because once again, it just gets your mind wandering, and people closing their eyes and people turning around. That is all very evocative imagery from scary movies in the past.
Listeners, we want to know from you. If you're watching us on YouTube, go down to the comments. What was the best scare of episode 5? Social media at PHQ Catfish. Let's get to a big question, which I think that section at the end really, really made you question. How far off the island do you have to go, if you're island born, with that caveat, before you're cursed, you're doomed, the evil entity wants you? Or, can you go for a little light cruising? I don't think what was going with Mayor Tom and his wife was a light cruise. I think she was pregnant, and she was like, hey, let's go visit, Boston or whatever.
Well, I thought they might be going to a hospital on the mainland so that she could give birth. That's kind of what it seemed like it was, that they were prepping for that. Yeah, I mean, my question is, why didn't she know this information? If she was born on the island, she hadn't left up until that point. And if she hadn't, it must have been because somebody said something to her. I mean, she believed it enough to not leave the island earlier, but not enough to not go away. I think that the island, senses if you are leaving. And I would say it's just like 10 miles off the coast. Boom. If you're just going to do a little cove fishing or just cruising around, you're okay. But 10 miles off the coast, international waters.
Catfish, what if, though, we are currently podcasting about another show, but that show is set in a mental institution, the Terror, Devil, and Silver. Check out the Double P Media, Double P Podcast, audio feeds, and YouTube channel if you want to check about that. And on that show, we're always talking about, is this real or is it in their head? Is it the fear? Could these things be self-inflicted? Maybe that wouldn't be rewarding for a show like this, but certainly in your head wouldn't cause you to suddenly, is it a coincidence that she just happened to be taking this ferry and then disaster struck during her childbirth? Oh my God, how horrific.
I mean, she went blind, Bubba, and then her eyes were open. Very wide open.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Listeners, we want to hear from you. We have not been doing our due diligence. We've been celebrating the show, but we haven't gone to Theory Town. We haven't gone to Crazy Town. This podcast, we're going to start going deep in theories, and for the rest of our podcasts on this great show, Widow's Bay, we're going to go. So we want to hear your theories. Let us know. Catfish, let's get to something light and fun after that. Boy,
okay, let's do it. Yeah,
deep, dark, serious thing. We always talk about the Island MVP. Who is your Island MVP for episode 5?
Bubba, it is Weird Al, the drug dealer, for having reasonable prices, $35 for an awesome drug trip, and a free, safe-ish place to trip, a.k.a. his spare bedroom, with his 50-year-old iguana who's got wanderlust. Just chilling there, Bubba. I mean, come on. He's got everything.
Todd O'Connor is his name, and comparing him to a great musical artist like Weird Al is nice of you to do. So I want you to start doing those type of things to me. I think my Island MVP...
I've always thought you were as good looking as Weird Al.
Okay, you know what? Just for that, cut his mic. Producer, cut his mic. Producer Rusty Bailiff, cut his mic, please. For me, the Island MVP is somebody who really came through this week. Who came through and stopped Evan from going into the Boogeyman's house. This character has kind of totally been underserved. They have to serve as the voice of logic on this fun, quirky show where we don't want a voice of logic. And so my Island MVP is Patricia.
Well, you know what was great about those kids? You think those kids would have, as soon as they saw the sheriff show up, they would have just taken off and left Evan behind.
Yeah.
They stuck around, mostly so that Evan could be further embarrassed, which was spectacular. So obviously, you meant the sheriff when you said Patricia.
Sheriff Clemens, yeah. Okay.
Bubba,
yeah.
Let's get to it. This week is chock full of funny bits.
My goodness.
You had written a bunch down, and then Bubba, I must have written down at least as much as you did additional, because you had one written down here, but I was like, no. There's a joke even before your first joke. At Reverend Bryce's funeral, we hear over the monitor a speech by some kid, and he goes on and he's like, well, he did this, he did that. Anyway, I didn't know him very well, which is really just a fabulous thing to have up there. And then what happened after that, Bubba?
After that, somebody made an announcement. Thank you, Paul. Once again, I'd like to remind everyone that it is not mandatory that you speak. That's the line that just slayed me. I was like, oh my God, that is it. But then
it was a beautiful 1-2 punch.
It was. But then, it was kind of dry for laughs for me outside of that one. But then we went to the local shaman house, and oh my God, this was a runner, Catfish. They shouldn't have left the house. This was brilliant. So just go through them all.
This was amazing. All right, it starts off with Todd opens up his drawer of drugs, and then he says, "I'm a shaman," and Patricia says, "Is that cocaine?" Which, as we all know, is not really in the shaman's purview.
I agree. I believe that it is.
Todd is talking about his buddy Bry guy, and even though what sounded horrible happened to him, it was very funny. He said, hey, listen, after the mushrooms, he chilled out majorly. He stopped getting into fights, stopped yelling at his girl. She had to feed him, though. He lost some pretty major motor skills. Happy guy, though.
Oh, come on. But Bry guy, hold on. Yeah. Bry guy, this visual gag, and this show does visual gags so great. Todd explains that Bry Guy, even though he lost a lot of major skills, he kept drawing something over and over, and it was like ancient geography, the type of thing that you just don't riff. And he hands it over, and it's an outline of the guy's hand. Yeah, oh my God,
it's so good.
Oh my God,
I don't put it in here later, but then later on, Tom does the same exact thing, and then Tom says, "If you have some paints, I could draw it for you." And I just thought, Tom, we don't need to see another hand, all right, buddy?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. And then Mayor Tom says he's talking about Todd brings out a tray.
Yep.
And Tom's like, God, that even looks hideous, because he's looking at the tray, and Todd says, but you can't taste it, right? Gesturing to the coffee Mayor Tom is drinking. And he's like, wait, it's in here? And he said, just sip it slowly. And the mayor says, I finished it. And Todd says, just stay calm. It's only a 12-hour experience.
I mean, is this a runner? Then, once again, visual gags set up so great. Guys come into the Peace Center. The Peace Center was so effing gross. The mindfulness bed was disgusting. And then the capper to the whole scene. I mean, Bridget, the 50-year-old iguana. I mean, the whole capper to the scene. He's made this mistake because he thought Mayor Tom was Wick. And so he should have been corrected, but he's like, listen, I gotta go. He points at the mayor. You got this, Wick.
And that is not the capper to the scene.
That is not the capper.
Capper to the scene is it says, whatever you do not look at any mirrors. He closes the door, and there's a mirror on the back of the door. And Tom is looking right into it.
So I went 7 out of 10. And if this scene didn't exist, my rating would have been really tough. You think 7 out of 10 is tough. This runner of ridiculousness, chef's kiss. Incredible.
So good. And they did not play it over the top.
No.
The drug dealer was playing it very serious, especially when he's like, look, I got to go deal with my girlfriend's cat.
Yeah.
And now my favorite, then we flash up to Mayor Tom, and he's in his office, and when he comes to, he does something, he makes a little noise, and DJ Dale, very nervous on the couch, squeals, and then at one point, Mayor Tom gasps again, and DJ Dale screams again. And then there's a flash up to the meeting. This guy is completely yelling at Mayor Tom, just like, what do you have to say about that? And he gets everybody riled up. So everybody's so happy about what he said, they all start clapping. And then Mayor Tom starts clapping too, at them just railing him.
No.
Bubba, I know you had a favorite moment in this, though. Come on. This is your favorite moment. It's Kurt is like, yes, we need to have fireworks because people come here for outdoor stuff, beaches and sun, not to spend all day at my piece of shit hotel.
Now, wait a minute.
He's like, that's all right. I said it. It's a piece of garbage. That's why I don't stay there.
Not nice.
Then we flash up again to where Patricia.
Yes.
And Wick and Wick's apparently old girlfriend.
Yeah.
And they're investigating this piece of paper. Tom's like, I got to get out of here. And it turns out he's on a leash. And so he gets up, and Patricia indeed starts treating him like a dog. She's like, sit, Tom, sit. And then, like a crazy dog, he pulls her out of there. Okay, I've got 2 more, Bubba. One is when the sheriff saves our scaredy cat, Evan Loftus. He's about to go into the house, and we hear over the police loudspeaker, Evan Loftus, please step away from the creepy house. And then the last bit of humor, and again, I would love to know whether this is written or just come up with on the spot, is when Evan finally shows up, Mayor Tom is standing there creepily, and then he puts his hands around his eyes and puts his hands right on the windows and goes all the way around the car. That was just delicious, Bubba. So, Bubba,
that was a long list, Catfish. Too long a list. The podcast has come to a screaming halt.
I apologize. Some of them couldn't have made it, but it was just so much fun. All right, Bubba, what is your funniest moment of the episode?
The biggest laugh for me was the visual gag of them setting up. He was drawing this thing over and over, the type of thing you don't just riff, ancient geography, and then the outline of the hand. I really did have a good gut-busting laugh. That's mine. What did you find the funniest bit in the episode, Kevin?
That's a good one, and I don't know why it's in that same section. It's just stupid, but he's like, don't look in any mirrors, slams the door, and there's the mirror right there where Tom was looking at our friendly drug dealer, so he was looking right in the mirror. To me, that did it. But the episode starts off with a bang with those 1-2 jokes, and it just keeps going. All right, Bubba, as you know, we got a lot of cool characters on this show. So we got to have the coolest character, which we refer to as the Freak of the Week. Bubba, who is your Freak of the Week?
I'm going to tip my cap to Dale's creepy vision through the mayor's drugging. What they did to make Dale look that way, and the camera work and the lighting and the way they even changed the way Dale normally does his hair to make it seem even more odd. I thought that was a great visual. Last week, Dale got it for his terrible DJing. This week, for a vision in Mayor Tom's sight. I'm giving it to DJ Dale. How about you?
Oof. He did look scary, and Bubba, for some reason I know this is going to sound silly, but I didn't realize it, and I was like, gosh, this guy looks a lot worse than he did. How did I not notice that he has gotten a lot more Skeletor looking?
Yep.
But now I realize you're right. That's what they did to him. But, Bubba, I'm still going to give my Freak of the Week to the dude at the beginning of the episode hosing all the good mushrooms. We don't know who it is. It's obviously someone from the past, long hair. Bubba, I have had one delightful, very gentle mushroom trip. But my favorite drug trip ever was an LSD trip in college, where at the end of the trip, the sun was coming up, and I saw a huge tree with thousands of leaves, and I saw the detail on every leaf. So that's my answer about my best drug trip, Bubba. That was a good question for this week. So, Bubba, now it is time for the best IceCold Put Down of the week. And, Bubba,
this is a new section. If you're brand new to us with our coverage of Widow's Bay, know that this is something we've been doing for years. We love a good little verbal jab, and so we're adding IceCold Put Down of the week to this, Catfish. This is incredible.
I love it, and Bubba, you will enjoy it, because the only two I came up with were people putting down our boy Evan. So when Evan's in the office and Tom was like, look, stay here, I'm going to call you every 30 minutes. And then he realizes that Evans cannot be trusted. He's like, I'm going to call you every 10 minutes. So Evan's like, blah, blah, blah. What's the system with the phone? And Tom says, the system is you pick up the TD phone when it rings.
Dad, that's tough talk, Dad.
And then Evan, after he gets saved by the sheriff, he wants to look tough in front of the kids. So at the end of the conversation, he says to the sheriff, do you mind if I call you an effing pig? And the sheriff says, no, the F you cannot.
Sheriff Clemens, another MVP moment. I will pick both of those because Evan, forgive me, listeners, hopefully you didn't feel this way. The character feels like a blank hole where the show needs more character and spice. So I'm saying both. What says you?
Bubba, I'm going to say you're right. It is both. The only thing that would have been better if somebody put down his friend in the driver's seat, who's obviously a much worse jerk than he is.
100%.
And you know what?
What?
He is the kind, if I was a parent, I would say to my kid, you are no longer hanging out with that guy.
No, I would say, bad. Sheriff Clemens, take that kid off the island.
Yes. All right, Bubba.
Now, we talk about theories, and we started with theories, but we were always kind of going about 5 inches deep in the water that Mayor Tom was swimming in at the mayoral swim. It's time. We're behind the schedule. We need to go deep into crazy or not crazy theories. We've reached out to you, our Double L loyal listeners, and said, hey, we want to hear your theories. If you're on YouTube, go down, put your theories based on the episode. Reach out to us at WPHQ on social media. You guys came through. So before we get to any of our theories, and I think both Catfish and I have really gone deep after episode 5, let's go to theirs, Catfish, because the listeners came through.
I love it. Okay, we start off with Nord with Novelty says, it's wild that Chris is everything she accused Patricia of.
Ooh.
But also, the hiding places the other girls used were so bizarre, it almost felt like hiding under the bed was the opposite of what he expected.
Okay.
Also, according to the calendar, the show either takes place in 2020 or 2026. Phones don't really work on the island, and they don't have infrastructure for things like fast internet. They mentioned that in the first episode.
Catfish, you had given many thoughts that you didn't think this was set in the relatively modern day. Nord with Novelties bringing up these facts. You good with this?
Well, I did because I thought it was set in the modern time, but there's so many clues that there's something going on with time here. But I did estimate that we were at least in the 2010s and could be in the 2020s, depending on when in the 90s those girls were taken and how old Patricia is. So, I believe we're in the modern day.
Finally.
Now, Joel Smith says 2 theories going around about Patricia. Either she is the boogeyman or she descended from an ancient witch coven, which is why the boogeyman didn't harm her. I'm here for either one. Patricia is such a great character. There you go. Team Patricia partner for you, Bubba.
I want to follow up Joel's theory with somebody who's went and put the comment in of Misanthropic, who said, hey, Joel, I was going to theorize the same thing. She went on to say, or does Patricia have an alter ego that's the boogeyman? It would be a great way for the alter ego to get revenge on the girls who treated Patricia badly. So what do you think, Catfish? Is there any chance Patricia was the boogeyman and took out those girls? And obviously, therefore, somebody else got accused and it wasn't them. Or is Patricia a witch? That was Joel's backup theory. What do you think?
Ooh, I like the idea that she is, let's say, unconsciously the boogeyman. Not consciously, but she has some sort of power that was the boogeyman taking revenge for her.
Okay, and let's go to Amna K's feedback, because this was the big thing after episode 4. Patricia and Amna's on this. Amna does not think this because, you know, the idea was, well, Patricia didn't get those phone calls from the boogeyman according to the phone records, so is it possible she made them? Amna.K goes the other way. She says, I think Patricia received the phone calls, but it was different from the other girls. Maybe the boogeyman is something Patricia unknowingly summoned. Oh, maybe this is more like Joel's theory too. And it started targeting people who were mean or bullied Patricia. In episode 4, almost everyone who fell under the spell had been rude or dismissive to Patricia in some way.
Well, that's just because everybody was rude.
Well, she says that's true. Now, Amna says, though, the big exception was Rosemary. She wasn't even in the room for the toast, but she heard everything and wasn't affected. And could be that was because she didn't drink the punch, but it also fits because Rosemary would never really treat Patricia badly. Love that feedback. Love those theories.
All right, and Multi-Fan TV12 says, I have a theory that DJ Dale is the older guy in the Welcome to Widow's Bay video. That is amazing.
That doesn't seem possible, but at this point, never say never. Our good loyal listener, CamShay23, had a theory. Camille wrote, it's always the witches. Burn them and they will reap vengeance. Dang, Catfish. Dang, great theories. Keep them coming. I have a feeling with that two-parter next week, we are going to be in Crazy Town theory, Catfish. So, do you have a crazy or maybe a not crazy theory this week?
Bubba, I am proud of myself because when it usually gets to these things, I just don't have the imagination for it to go as deep as we need to. But I think I've come up with a good one this week.
Oh, okay. Let's see it.
Okay, so we know that the mushrooms are heavy, powerful mushrooms. Okay? But these mushrooms grow in the soil, they spread to the soil, they spread to other things. And so I believe that people on the island are unintentionally microdosing on these mushrooms, and through food grown on the island or whatever psychoactive property is in them, that's why they are seeing things.
Okay.
And that is also because it gets into their system when they're born. If you're born on the island, it gets into your system right away. And so there's something about it that then your system is relying upon. And it's also kind of in the air as well. So when you get out of that air, out of the range of that effect, that is why you die as well. Because there's something that's interacting in your body with the organisms that have been there from the beginning. And so that is why, first of all, you're seeing things. And second of all, why you die when you go off the island.
Oh, wow. Wow, what a thorough theory from somebody who never makes theories. Good work, Cabbage.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Bubba. All right, what have you got for us?
Okay.
And it better be Looney Tunes.
Okay, all right. Well, it might be regular tunes, so be ready.
Okay,
so,
all right.
Putting some of the facts together. In episode 1, the museum scene with the reporter, Tom explains that the explorers of the island came there to the island during, quote, what is believed as the harshest winter in Widow's Bay history. So that's what we were told. The people went there, and it just happened to be the harshest winter in history. What did we see at the beginning of this episode? The beginning of this episode, it's snow on the ground, and this guy, he's out of focus, but he falls down to the ground, and he needs probably some sustenance, and so he's ready to eat these mushrooms. So now, let's tie these things together. Island, and also going back to see episode 1 and the things you're talking about the time dilation. There was the weird thing where Patricia was talking to Shep, and Shep was in the hospital. He was kind of out, and she was talking to him, and she said she found out she was biologically aged of 28. That's what Patricia said. And so, it was almost hidden by a joke because somebody said, people can't hear you if you talk to them when they're on coma or whatever. But then Mayor Tom looks at Shep's chart there at the hospital, and Shep, who we saw looked like an old dude, there was a form on the chart that said he was biologically aged 37.
Ooh.
So, you talk about how in episode 2 you go into the hotel room, close the door, wait half a second, reopen it. The people feel like they've been in there forever and need food. Is it possible that that mushroom and those moments when you black out don't count? So you're only aging. Why is your biological age always less than your actual age? Because those black moments that Mayor Tom had in this episode don't count to your biological kind of evolution. And so that is a thought. Now let's just go through quickly the Lost fear that some people have. Lost is a television show that a lot of people loved, Catfish, in the early 2000s, but some people thought its mythology and mystery kind of went crazy cuckoo. So we have already found out that Widow's Bay in 1681, there was that deadly storm, they found teeth, they established it. Just less than 19 years later, there's the one and only plague of 1702. There's a deadly storm about 85 years after that, which resulted in cannibalism. We have the ship that sailed and kind of, the mayor wanted to fool around with the guys. Was it his wife or daughter? And so there was that kind of stuff. In 1846, the fog that stole the soul. 1951, we had Willie the Killer Clown. The New Year's Eve disaster of 1962. We've got a lot of history here. The Boogeyman killings were in the early 2000s. So all of this stuff, it feels like it goes back to the beginning. We know Sarah Westcott Warren married Richard Warren. In her book, in her page from her diary, whatever you want to call it, that was read here in episode 5, one of the things in it is Sarah writes, "Who will crush my throat? ? His hands? ? This plague." So we're talking about the plague of 1702. People look at that picture in the Historical Society of Sarah Westcott Warren, and sure enough, her husband's hands are on her throat. Now, they're on the back of her neck, the back of her throat. But, that is crazy. And so, is it an original sin that either the founder, Warren, Richard Warren, took these mushrooms, killed his wife, and the whole island is paying for this sin? That would be good. That would be logical. A lot of people are hoping this isn't like Lost, where we're on a mystical island and things aren't logical. I've thrown a lot of stuff out, Catfish.
All right.
Do you trust the writers? Where Lost was a really fun show, let's be honest. It was a fun show to watch, but its kind of mythology was like, what do we need it to be this week? What are you feeling about Widow's Bay?
Well, again, one of my stories I tell a lot about Lost was that I do these casting director workshops, and some guy came in one time who was a producer, and he'd actually been brought on as a writer of Lost, and the writer said to them openly, We've got to figure out to explain these things that we were just throwing in just to make it interesting, that we had no idea how to pay them off or what they meant. And we were just like, let's just do scary things. Let's just do weird things. And I think that people have learned from the reaction to that show not to do that anymore.
No, you can't.
And so I believe that that again, we've said it both times. I trust the writers, and that there will be an explanation. Now, of course, you want to tease it out. We'll come to the end of the season, and we'll want to have some sort of resolution, but also the possibility for it to keep on going. The only thing I'll say negative towards your theory here is that for the husband being the guy we saw at the beginning. The guy we saw at the beginning had a long, full black head of hair, and the husband here is very much balding with white hair.
Okay, well, yeah, no.
That's my only supposition.
Who's to say that Richard Warren didn't have two wives? It's almost implied that he had two wives, right? Because they went to the island and there was like a missing person on the boat. Well, how about this?
Right, no, I just mean that he couldn't be rich, that the Richard Warren couldn't be the guy at the beginning of the episode who was digging up the mushrooms, because that guy had long black hair.
Yeah, but
that came down in front of his eyes.
That's in the winter, the deadly storm of 1681. And then, and then 1702, which I pointed out is 19 years later, one and only plague. Suddenly, by that point, he's this white-haired character, Catfish.
Okay, all right. So he took the original sin was taking the mushrooms in the first place, and then he wants to later in years. That's when he takes care of business. All right, I could buy that. I'll buy that.
If you are watching this or listening to this, on audio podcast, we're going to put up some images on the YouTube channel. One of the things that's going around is people are wondering, is the actress who plays Mayor Tom's late wife, does she have a look at all like this Sarah Westcott Warren? What do you think, Catfish? We'll put it up on the YouTube video. Maybe we'll tweet out this image as well or put it on our social media channels. Any chance that Mayor Tom's wife has a bit of a resemblance to Sarah Westcott?
She's got a bit of resemblance in the mouth in general. It would have to there would have to have been a nose job somewhere in there, but she does have a general resemblance to her for sure.
Okay, all right. Listeners, we love your theories. We've read a bunch. We also love your feedback. So, hey, Catfish, let's begin our wrap-up of this podcast by getting to some great feedback. And because of episode 4, we have so much Patricia feedback, you know I'm going to love it. One of our true, wonderful, loyal listeners that we love hearing from is Satan Claus, and I believe this is Satan Claus on YouTube, wrote, I think Bubba is hoping Patricia is the sea hag. If you know what I mean. I think I know. Victoria Mia E. said, I'd be a regular at the Paddy Wagon. Heck yeah. Sarah Clem wrote, I totally want to see what was on the list Patricia gave Rosemary. Now, of course, Patricia thought the list was one thing. Don't you think the list she gave Rosemary is like, find me some birds I can kill? Oh, my goodness, hilarious. Tom Donahue said he loved Patricia dancing. Is that how she really dances, or was told to dance like that? I believe the actress was dancing in character and just lovely. Let me tell you something. I hear all this, and I just suddenly had a great thought that I hadn't thought before. Yep. Patricia is so perfection. She is like the type of woman that makes you want to open up a can of spinach, down it, and then loan some money to your buddy Wimpy so he can get a tan burger today. Oh, man. Speaking of that, Jonathan Grant says Bubba's Eat Spinach and Punch Pluto comment is the most roundabout reference to Shelley Duvall, and also a cartoon that's twice as old as the Popeye movie was. Now, Thomas jumped onto Tom Donahue and said Patricia's dance skills are awesome. Yeah. She looks like it's all natural moves, as though she makes it up as she goes along. She was the star of the party, and especially the Series 4 episode. All right, Bubba, enough of Patricia. We got some general feedback from a listener who got feedback from last episode. Softclip_Q said, I want to get back to the hag. I want a siren song episode. Ooh. I want evil mermaids, kelp monsters. Ooh. I want some sort of Scooby-Doo scary thing is all I'm saying. Okay. How about his second point? And then Soft Clip also says the hotel where the mayor heard stuff down the vent like IT Dairy sorta. And then the priest said he heard evil down there when he listened to the vent in the forest. These things are clearly connected. The question is, at this point, how serious do the writers take the lore of this show? Will this have hard rules, or will this be more of a fun, we kind of break our own rules here and there? And that gets to the lost question, Softclip_Q. Catfish, you said IT Dairy. He meant it. You know, that welcome to Dairy, that kind of stuff. It, Dairy, IT, that is so great. Whatever we would go see. How about this? Do you want... Man, Miss Catfish would call it IP Man. There you go. So there we go. All right, how about this? Do you want a Scooby-Doo scary stuff like the evil mermaids? I think Sirens is a great call, Soft off clip. I really
Sirens is great. I think we both answered his question in that so far we have complete and utter trust in the writers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Link Hogthrob says, I'm not like Catfish, where I naturally like these kind of shows. Oh. It's walking a fine line of humor and horror, as you mentioned. It's so quirky as a show and as a population of people, and that quirkiness is what's keeping me invested, along with wanting to see what is really causing all this.
Link Hogthrob has been a listener for so long. Let me tell you, buddy, I want you to write after this episode, because when you talk about quirkiness, we mentioned the run at the shaman's house, Todd the shaman's house. Man, that was good. Were you able to survive the rest of this episode? Write to us and let us know. Once again, back to our loyal listener, Cam Shea. She gave last week the episode 4 10 out of 10 double Ds.
Double Ds?
She calls it dreadful dancing. Wait a minute.
Oh, no.
She says double P.
Double P?
Poor Patricia is the most awkward person, and I felt bad for her. The creepy reveal with the headdress and the punch was shocking. WTF moment. Hell yeah. Come here.
Oh, my God. And Ms. Bill's Mafia at Revere Terry said fourth episode was a 10.0 featuring the best punch north of Jamestown.
Oh, man, you know Jamestown had the best punch. Nobody can remember anything about it. I love it.
You're really knocked out by that punch. Chris Laska says, I had a genuine jump scare / scream. I will forever be freaked out by sea hags.
Oh, come on. Learn to love the sea hags, Chris. How about Android? I don't even want to pronounce your Stojanovic. I love it. We were talking about how if you go to buy Apple's charts on their homepage, last week, this show you and I love, these listeners, I think you love it. Widow's Bay was not the number one show on Apple TV, and we said, hey, that John Hamm show.
It was not the number two, number two show.
They said the John Hamm show, Your Friends and Neighbors, was number one. Well, we got this great feedback, which literally went sea hag on John Hamm. Are you ready? It says John Hamm sucks ass compared to Matthew Rhys, both when it comes to acting skills and charisma alone. Matthew Rhys looks like a normal person in real life, while John Hamm attempted to murder a dude at college. And had you heard this story, Catfish? This is crazy. He's the boogeyman, John Hamm.
Oh, my God.
So I did some Wikipedia-level research based on this.
Okay.
I didn't
By going to Wikipedia?
By going to Wikipedia, exactly right. Apparently, John Hamm, in 1990, when he was at the University of Texas, he was involved in a violent fraternity hazing thing. And the poor victim claimed he was severely beaten, dragged with a hammer, and had his pants lit on fire. Apparently, John Hamm participated in all these terrible hazings until the very end. That is just an accusation, but who knew? Who knew? Your friends and neighbors are trying to haze you, apparently. Holy smokes.
Holy cow. Wow, that is something, Bubba. A little bit of an update. Somehow, Margot has money problems, and Your Friends and Neighbors have swapped. Now Margot's first, Widow's Bay still third, but I have a feeling this is going to go on for a long time, Widow's Bay. Although Apple premiering another show this week. Just crazy. Apple is crushing it.
They got so much money, they'll just put it out. Hey, we love feedback. We can't say it enough. If you're on YouTube, please give us a like. Please subscribe. It really helps us and other Double L loyal listeners discover this. Go down in the comments. Tell us your thoughts. We promise we're going to read them and comment on them. Also, if you're listening on audio podcast, please subscribe. We need you. And reach out to us on social media. We're always putting out a bunch of information and fun and silly messages and pictures and images I think you'll like. Next week, Catfish, it looks like, now I think this is true, we're going to get 2 episodes next week. Because
that's what it says on the Apple the Apple interface.
So we got one, episode 6, which is entitled Our History. The history of Widow's Bay is a beautiful tale of marriage, loyalty, and a love that endures beyond lifetimes. And episode 7 is entitled Seasickness, Set Out to Sea with Mayor Loftus and Wick.
Ooh, I'd feel bad for Wick in that case.
Why, you don't want to be with the mayor because all bad things happen to him? Why are you saying
No, because the mayor can set out to sea and Wick cannot.
Ooh, good point. Hey, for everybody here at Double P Podcast, Double PHQ, my name's Bubba. You can find me on all those crazy social media apps at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on social media.
And I am Catfish. You can hit me up on Instagram and Blue Sky at G to the Men. That is GEETOTHEMAN. And we are begging you, asking you, give us your craziest of crazy theories and more feedback. We love this show and we want to talk about it as much as we can. And we want to hear your theories to put us on the best non-drug drug trip of our lives. Trip us out with your theories, and we will talk to you next week on Double PHQ's Widows Bay podcast.
You know what? I'm telling your drug story to Vivek Ramaswamy.
Don't tell me. I just look at Vivek. I know he's done some peyote or ayahuasca.